Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to post a separate review for Hellraiser 2022. It's one of my October watch list films. I got that in today. And before I kind of get into my thoughts on the film, I probably need to do some caveats here because remakes and reboots are a divisive issue in the horror community, and they always have been. And I could go back to the 80s when I was in my 20s, and I remember seeing The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing in the theater, and I remember it like it was yesterday. There was a hue and cry that this is shit. Believe it or not, there was just as many people that think that film was a shit when it came out as they did now. It's an adored movie, a loved movie, a 10 out of 10. Uh, but back then, I mean, for every person that thought it was good, you could find somebody that hated it, just hated it, because it took basically because for the same factors that I think apply today with films like Friday the 13th, the remake, or Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, or the Fog remake. I mean, back then, I mean, we had the Howard Hawks film with James Arness, and that was a classic film when I was growing up. Uh, and it was blasphemy, practically blasphemy, what some people thought it was, what John Carpenter did to that movie in terms of his reimagining. So I guess my point is the divisiveness of remakes and reboots and reimagining has always been there. It isn't some new thing that happened just because Black Christmas came out and it was total shit. The other thing I want to say uh, is that today's films, particularly because of Hollywood and the extreme left, out of touch with mainstream society, extreme left, who are churning out these films, these reboots, remakes that are really nothing more than a cash grab. They're a cash grab, but they're also a way for them to interject their own screwed up political agendas into an art form. And really, I think to some extent, particularly with, say, Black Christmas 2019, the film's not even the reason they're doing it. The reason they're doing it is they're pushing and peddling an agenda, a political agenda, and of course they want to make a bunch of money. And so the film and the story takes a back seat to, now where can we insert this woke character, uh, because it makes me feel good. This is what I want the society to be. A la, Halloween Kills is a great example of that, where you got two gay guys pushed into the Myers house who were only there. I don't have a problem with gay people, first of all. What I have a problem with is pandering and putting characters in films for no other reason than to push your political agenda. And that's what that was. It was to the point where that was just comedic relief. That's just one example. Um, when I'm talking about this film, Hellraiser, I have to say that I loved it. I loved Hellraiser 2022, and it is equally as good as the original in my opinion. And I'm saying that first of all, I don't really give a shit about subscribers or views or any of that crap. I'm doing this to memorialize my thoughts on film, and people can agree with it or not. Doesn't matter to me. Couldn't care less. I'm not trying to get clicks and subs and pander. I don't have an agenda. I don't have an agenda. I'm not going to go on a rant just for the sake of getting clicks or subs. And therefore, I'm going to tell you what I think about every movie I see, and whether it adheres to the, the, the majority or not. I thought Hellraiser 2022 was great. David Bruckner did a great job, and he's done a great job with a lot of movies. Southbound was great, VHS, the first VHS. I mean, the guy can direct a movie. I thought the Cenobites looked great. I now think people are going to complain that the Cenobite was a female, God forbid. I thought it was fun. It looked great. Uh, the characters in this film, and by the way, the Cenobite, the Hellraiser Pinhead wasn't. I mean, the original intent from the book and all, the Pinhead was just one of the other Cenobites. He wasn't like the main guy. So if you watch this movie and say, well, there's just not enough Pinhead, it's all about Pinhead. Well, it's not really about Pinhead. He's just one of the he or she, in this case she, as in the book, is just one of the Cenobites. And I thought she looked great. I thought her delivery of lines was great. The look of the film was fantastic. And here's the biggie. And if you've watched my videos, you're going to know where I'm going with this. Characters. Do we have characters that we like and care about? In this case, from my perspective, we do. I thought that the girl that, I don't know who she is. I didn't know who she was until I saw this movie. Odessa Azion was fantastic in this. Very believable, very plausible. Excellent job. Excellent job. Obviously, I'm not talking about the story. My usual reviews, I kind of give you the storyline. I'm not going to do that with this. Just go watch it. Just go watch it and see for yourself what you think. But I thought the characters in this were plausible and believable. And, I was harping on Halloween Kills and the two gay guys inserted into buying the Michael Myers house, which, in my original review on that, statistically, my point in illustrating that was the statistics and the plausibility of that happening simply just, it's not there. It was done to insert, because it's a woke leftist agenda, trying to insert characters into situations that don't fit. In this case, so just to let people know that I'm not against gays, this film has two gay guys as part. The brother is gay to this girl. It was fine. It was plausible within the context and the tonality of the film, and it didn't take away from the story. It wasn't there. It wasn't there as the main purpose to promote a political agenda. The story and the character arc of the film was the reason these guys made the movie, and not the opposite, which is the best example I can give you is Black Christmas 2019. That was made to pursue a political agenda. We're just going to throw a bunch of checklists. We've got our leftist, Hollywood elitist checklist. Boom, boom, we're going to check it off. Boom, 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 boom. Insert them in the film, whether it makes sense or not. That's the kind of shit I absolutely hate. And if people don't like that, then I don't give a shit, really. But in this case, it works. The characters are likable. Their actions are plausible. And the story was propelled in a way that was very entertaining and good. I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about this film. It's a little long. Probably, yeah, from a complaint standpoint, it's probably, I mean, it's 2 hours. It's 2 hours. They probably could have trimmed it back a little bit. Probably could have trimmed it back. But I thought it was great. I encourage you to go see it or watch it on Hulu. I guess it never did. I think it was straight to video, which is still, after watching, I'm like, I mean, you're going to put out Black Christmas 2019 in theaters, but you're going to send this straight to video? I mean, obviously it's different companies, I get that, but don't understand that. I think this would make money. But I would encourage you to see this film. I think it's very, very good. And whether it's blasphemy or not, I think this is as good as the original. In a lot, it's different, which I'm glad it's different. It did take. Look, it did take. It's obviously taking some cues from the original. It even lifted. It even lifted musical stinger cues directly from the original, a la Bruno Mattei. So from a copycat perspective, there are some things in this that are right out of the original, But it didn't deter me from liking the film. The other thing I would say I would leave you with is why is it in the horror community, and I'm one of those, we we look back with fondness of some films in the '80s, particularly uh, that really kind of propelled horror, and then we look at, say, Bruno Mattei's films where he basically just copycatted a film. Aliens or Terminator, some of his zombie films, just copied it. Copied the music, copied the characters, just copied it. Now, those we look at least I do, I know a lot of people do in the horror community, look at the Italian horror films that copied what was successful with a great deal of fondness. I do too. But when we look at the Americanized or modern reboot, we've got this prejudice, this immediate prejudice that, oh, they're just going to ruin it. Um, a great example, I think, is probably Hills Have Eyes, under Alexander Aja's reboot remake, which I think is better than Wes Craven's film. Uh, I mean, I think you got to go into these things without a prejudiced eye to what the original was in order to give these films a fair shot. But yeah, we'll accept the Italians ripping off in the '80s, because it's a point in time, some 20, some 30 years ago. But if they do it today, we're ready to chop their head off. The Friday 13th remake, in a lot of ways, was really really good. The first 20 minutes was fantastic. The problem with the remake was the characters sucked. They were horrible. I hated them. Uh, so I think you just got to get out of your head. It's a reboot remake. It's a pointless exercise. So I'm going to hate it. I would encourage you to just put that aside and just judge the film on its own merits, just like we do with our beloved Bruno Mattei. Bruno Mattei, we accept him ripping off classic '80s films because he did it with a certain flair, uh, a certain cheese factor, and an entertainment factor that just, it's hard to put your finger on it, but it's so bad it's good type stuff. Um, what I would say is, I think for even the people that probably don't like this film, I'm kind of circling back now to my beginning comments about The Thing, the '80s Thing. Wait 20 years. Wait 20 years. I'm going to predict right now. Wait 20 years. This is going to be considered one of the best films of the last 20 years. It's going to be looked at, I think, as a classic horror film. But you're going to have to wait about 20 years. A la The Thing. Uh, so that's my opinion on Hellraiser 2022. Hey, if you've seen it, or you've got thoughts about it, good or bad, if you think I'm full of shit, I don't, feel free to tell me so. At any rate, I appreciate you watching. Thanks.